seeing if anybody shows up. So. Let's try to run up and get cat food before, not right this second. Before it falls in my makeup. Let's see if anybody shows up. Hi, everybody. If anybody's here, hi, I'm coming right there. I meant to schedule it, and it somehow didn't schedule. It just went live. I even made a thumbnail and everything. To have one of those scheduled and how they'll have a picture there. I even did that. So. Hi. Oh, Moo is here. Hi, 10th Angel, Bridget, Whisper to Me, Tammy, Linda, Kevin, Kathy, Nicole Griffith, Lisa H. I don't know who Scott is, but hi, Scott. Kathy, Tracy Thomas. Hi, guys. We'll let Carolyn know. I think I did, but I'm not sure. Just allergies. I just messaged her. I know she was doing a couple things, but I just decided to go live. I just now messaged her, so we'll see. She'll probably come. Okay, we're going to read from... Oh, thank you, Lisa. No, it's just allergies. No, you know how the eyes water and stuff? Now, who's Scott? Oh, Scott. Okay, I see Scott. Oh, thank you, Scott. It's really sweet. Thank you. Hi, Lori. I don't know if you guys heard me, but I was trying to schedule this for a little bit later, and I was going to have this, I was going to just have it set up a little bit different, and I hit the live instead, but I wanted to have this going. Whoa. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, I don't think it shows up real well on there, does it? Maybe it'll adjust. Or if I get it closer, maybe? No, you can't tell then either, can you? It is beautiful, isn't it? So sweet of Muppets. But you can see a little bit right there. Has the gnomes in it. I was trying to make a little setup, but another time. I'll just read right now. You love your scooter? She did do a good job. She said she wished she could send one to everybody. Hi, QB. You're ordering one for your mom for Christmas? You know what? That's a good idea. I should order Bonnie one for Christmas. She would love that. And Maddie. And Shelly. Okay, well, I got to turn this on now again to read. Just seeing who else, if maybe my daughter came in. Or my daughter, Caroline. She's just working her head off. Okay. Here we go. Just sit back and relax. Go back to days of old, which really aren't that old if you think about it, because a life goes by so quick. You'll learn that as you get older, that life, she is a gem. Hi, California Thunder. You showed up. Remember now, we're going to set up for you to do like a tour of your dolls and everything, hold them up, explain them and everything. Oh, your new soundbar. It's awesome. Okay, California Thunder, I'm really excited about that. So many of us love the vintage things. But yeah, this, so many people think, oh, me, you're old. Well, so what? That's life. If you're lucky enough, fortunate enough, you get to be old. And we get to learn from our relatives and books and everything. So start with a story. Let's see. They have recipes and everything in these cute little magazines. This one is from August of 1992. Still need to find out who that was. We are vintage, Kathy. We age like fine wine. They are, aren't they, 10th Angel? Okay, I won't really be looking at the chat. I hope you guys enjoy. You just sit back, relax, or do what you're going to do and listen if you want. This one's called, it's by Alice Swoop, a story told to by her father. A simple pleasure becomes a heavenly wonder if you've worked hard enough for it. The world's best milkshake. I'm already wanting a milkshake now. Okay, good, Lisa. Glad you guys do. I really appreciate it. I really do. Because I like reading these myself. And I haven't read them, out loud really to anybody since I worked in the nursing homes way back when, and they sure loved these stories. I was 17 when I left the farm and got a room in town. I thought it would be glamorous to be on my own in the big city. I told Dad that I wasn't cut out to be a farmer, but he had a fit when I said I was leaving home, especially since I wasn't finished with high school. In 1912, lots of kids were on their own. Families had several children, and when the oldest left home, there was one less mouth to feed. The folks were still reluctant, but they said, "Give it a try. If you don't make it, you're always welcome here at home." I had to prove myself, and my brothers Bill, Ray, and Percy wanted to stay on the farm. So Dad had plenty of help. Anyway, I went to the city and enrolled in a trade school for part of the day. I found a cramped room on the second floor of a house in a rundown part of town. But it was clean with a pretty good bed, a dresser, and a kind of ratty overstuffed chair. Best of all, it was mine for $1.50 a week. That was a big amount then. So hard to believe that's a big amount then. And it came out of the $5 Dad gave me when he brought me to town in the buggy. Dad helped me carry my stuff upstairs and looked around the place. He patted me on the back and said, "Well, son, maybe it does beat sleeping with the boys." Then he was gone and I was all alone. I promised the folks I'd go to trade school in the mornings to learn something worthwhile. I decided to take up upholstery work. The school building was long and low and made of metal, which made it hot in the summer and cold in the winter. Also, signing up for half days, I started out looking for work. I walked my legs off and couldn't find a thing. When it got to be dusk, I couldn't believe I had nothing to make a living at. I'd spent $1.50 for my first week's rent and had a 15-cent sandwich and a 5-cent glass of milk. So I had $3.30 left. I knew to the penny how much money I had, but I kept counting the change, thinking I'd made a mistake and really had more. My stomach was growling, and I felt like I'd drop if I didn't eat. I bought another sandwich, but just had water this time. I paid a nickel for a trolley, rode and walked the 6 blocks home, falling into bed exhausted. I knew things would be better the next day, but I kept waking up in the night because I was so hungry. My stomach was growling, and I drank glasses of water to try to get full. In the morning, I could smell coffee and hotcakes as I went downstairs on the way to my first class. I guess the landlady saw me peek in the kitchen with my stomach in my eyes because she asked if I'd like to join them. I didn't need a second invitation. Mrs. Murdoch saved my life a lot of times by offering me breakfast. Every day I took the trolley to school. Then at noon, I headed out to look for work. Every day the same thing. I couldn't find a job. I was spending about 50 cents a day. By Saturday, I had only 30 cents left, and I was getting scared. For on Sunday, I had another week's rent to pay. If I couldn't pay it, I'd be out on the street or have to go home. I hated the thought of going home after I'd made such a big deal out of making it on my own. But on Saturday, I had a real stroke of luck, for I found a job sweeping the streets. I was given this huge broom and a scoop to clean the trolley tracks and streets. At that time, horses traveled the streets since there were few cars, and you can imagine how much they needed someone to sweep. People then were so kind and trusting. I told the landlady I had a job, and she said I could pay for 2 weeks' rent on the next Saturday. She also said she'd give me a breakfast for 20 cents. She never charged me the 20 cents, though. Then the fellow at the diner let me put my lunches on a tab. My last 30 cents paid for the trolley for part of the week. When I ran out, I walked the whole way home. The wonderful day came. Gotta take my drink. Right, Lisa H. I have the reminisce here too. Some of them I haven't even opened yet. The wonderful day came when I walked into the city offices and stood in the line for my pay. When the clerk called my name and handed me an envelope, my hand shook so bad I could hardly take it. I ran all the way to the trolley line, holding that envelope so tight that by the time I got to the road leading to home, my fingers ached. I arrived so out of breath I could hardly walk up the steps. I was so happy I felt like yelling. I knelt by the bed and fumbled with the envelope. There were $7 bills, the most wonderful sight I'd ever seen. I counted them over and over. I threw them into the air and watched them float down onto my bed. I danced around and kissed each one. I thought, wow, I'll never be hungry again. Then my stomach growled, and I could only taste a big, thick, white vanilla milkshake. I changed into another pair of pants, put on a clean shirt, and walked back to the trolley. All the way into town, I kept fingering that money. When I got to the diner, I rushed in and paid my tab. It wasn't much because I'd had a lot of donuts, which were just 2 for a nickel. Finally, I rushed to the drugstore and ordered a giant creamy milkshake. It was big and wonderful and cost a whole dime, but I didn't care. I was rich, and to this day, it was the best darn shake I'd ever had. This magazine's kind of old, so you might have a hard time.
I wish the president was still like that today.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah. We'd all be billionaires.
Really, yes. But we wouldn't be paid as much. That's how it goes, you know. The wages, it all matches the wages and everything.
But still, two donuts for a nickel? For a dime?
Yeah, a nickel, 2 for a nickel.
Yeah.
And they were probably nice big donuts too. This one's called Partners in Cream. These little vixens must have been part kitten. It's by June Ergang. My friend Bert and I were neighbors in the mid-30s. We were 5 years old and enjoyed living in the beautiful rural paradise of Long Island, New York. It was a wonderful way of life. The milkman delivered milk. The vegetable man came with his cart of tomatoes, lettuce, onions, and fruits. And the bakery man sold delicious cheese pies. We had one for dessert every Friday night. That sounds good, cheese pie. Anyway, Bert and I happened to notice the milkman making deliveries early one Saturday morning while we were playing, and decided to open one of those bottles from a neighbor's milk box and drink the cream from the top. How good it tasted. We decided to do another and another until we were really full of cream. We took each cap off very carefully and placed it back just so, as if no one would know it had been tampered with. Old Mrs. Brull lived down on the corner. Now, if anyone was going to catch us, she would. This became such a treat that we kept doing it every time we saw fresh milk in our neighbors' milk boxes. We didn't take it from our own houses so as not to arouse suspicion with our parents. We continued with our deviltry for several weeks and felt pretty safe. Old Mrs. Brull lived down on the corner. Now, if anyone was going to catch us, she would. Still, everything continued quiet and uneventful, and we went on with our caper. Mom asked me several times, if I had anything to tell her, but I always said no. One Saturday morning, bright and early, Bert came over. We played on my swing under the old apple tree in the backyard and soon decided it would be more fun to go cream drinking. We went to a few houses but found no milk. Gee, this is strange. We moved on down the road and soon reached Mrs. Brull's house. We quietly crept up to the porch and just outside her front door spied 2 glorious bottles of milk with thick, delicious cream on top. We were just about to pull the caps off the bottles when suddenly the front door opened and out stepped our mothers and Mrs. Brull. I almost dropped the bottles out of my hands, and Bert did the same. We jumped in surprise and stood there saying nothing. Mom spoke. Well, Missy, I guess your days of cream drinking are over. Bert's mother added, yes, and you two are going to have to pay the neighbors back for all the milk you touched. Bert and I looked at each other, too scared to move. Mom spoke. Do you have the money to pay for all this wrongdoing? No, we both said as we looked down, shaking. Well, Claire, Mom said to Bert's mother, what do you think? I think they have to pay somehow, she declared. It was decided that Bert and I would do whatever chores we could to pay back all the people we had invaded until our debt was paid in full. Mom and Claire spoke to all the neighbors who had experienced missing cream, and our duties were designated accordingly. Each day we went to a different house and swept sidewalks, cleaned up yards, ran errands, folded laundry, put garbage in the proper containers, anything we could do to make amends. This lasted approximately 4 weeks. Mom and Claire wanted to make a lasting impression on us, and they did. We were tired after each workday and very happy when it all ended. Mom and Claire told everyone not to pay us anything, although some gave us freshly baked cookies and milk. But when Mrs. Brull asked us if we would like to have a bowl of fresh strawberries and cream, Bert and I looked at each other, dropped our gaze, and said, no, thanks. We sort of lost our taste for cream. I sent you a personal one, Mommy Ramblings. Mama. Oh, we got from Grandmother's cookbook, her special chocolate cake. Oh, sunburst chiffon cake. Chiffon cake always sounds so good. Somebody made it before. Yeah, I sent it to you on Messenger. And Lazy Time sponge cake. Look at the box of the Betty Crocker, if you can make it out. How it looked back then. Kara, no, you don't do the fashion doll furniture and costumes. the passing scene. This is when, I guess, he died. Tennessee Ernie Ford must have died in, what year did I say this book is? 92? 1992. Yeah. And another, some actress. Yeah, August 92. And some actress called Agnes Ayres from the silent film era. She was 44. Must be the anniversaries of their deaths or something. Agnes Ayres. And then Tennessee Ernie Ford. Let's see here. I was going to have the stories picked out, but I hit it too quick. This is what I had on the front, my thumbnail, but I don't think it ever made a thumbnail. Because like I said, I hit scheduled, but then I went go live and totally messed it up. Oh, how cute. You want to do my first Christmas tree? Cute little girl. My First Christmas Tree by Selma McCarthy. Christmas was always a joyous time when I was growing up. Our home was poor in monetary things, but rich in love. My great grandmother Streets doted on me and I on her. My great aunt Edie, Grandma Street's daughter, helped my mother spoil me perhaps because my father had drowned when I was only 8 years old, and Grandmother Pearl, my mother's mother, had died shortly after. In 1932, when I was 9 years old, we had our first Christmas tree, thanks to Mr. Meeks, a friend of my mother's. He chopped down a pine tree in the Fort Knox woods near Vincennes, where we lived. He and my mother decorated it with red and green balls and silver icicles he had brought. He also brought some strings of multicolored lights that he connected to a car battery. I stood in awe of this beautiful creation. I thought he was very clever to light up the tree with the battery. We used kerosene lamps since we had no electricity. Mother draped a white sheet around the base of the tree to simulate snow. I marveled at her ingenuity. Back in those days, it seemed like the winters were colder. When it snowed, the snow seemed to stay all winter. Of course, I hoped that it would snow again before Christmas and cover the old dirty snow that had fallen earlier in December. Great grandmother Streets had been talking about cooking her old Dominecker rooster for Christmas dinner. No animal cruelty allowed. High crime scene cleaner. He was an arrogant fellow that flogged grandmother's legs every chance he got, and she was tired of his poor behavior. The hens would probably be glad to be rid of him, I thought, since he always trod all over them and gobbled up all the corn Grandma threw into the chicken while the hens clucked in dismay.
Aunt Aunt Edie decided to make pumpkin pies, her specialty, and Grandma was going to make dumplings, although she said the old rooster would probably be so tough that we wouldn't be able to stick a fork in him. I have been hoping for a storybook of fairy tales that began once upon a time. I didn't own any books, but I sure read a lot of them at the library. I nearly wore out my library card. Maybe I would get some new shoes. My old ones had holes in the bottoms, and the cardboard Grandma Streets put in didn't keep the snow out. When we had the money, Grandma would buy half soles for 15 cents and nail them onto my shoes using her old iron shoe last. Half soles. I don't know what those are, but for shoes, obviously. I was delighted when it started snowing on December 23rd. I awoke to a winter wonderland on Christmas Eve day and wished for a sleigh to transport me to Grandma Street's house, 3 doors away. Wishing and dreaming didn't hurt. I'd done a lot of it. I slid to my grandma's. I slid to grandma's in my worn out shoes. She had a homemade buttermilk biscuit and a glass of reconstituted powdered milk waiting for me. She got the milk from the commissary, a government handout office for poor people like us. Poor people have poor ways, Grandma used to say. Grandma, you make the best biscuits in the world, I said, giving her a hug as I left for the day. Bye, darling. Be careful and don't fall, Grandma cautioned. On my way home, I stopped to visit Darlene Dutton, my best friend, who lived between Grandma and us. I invited her over to see our Christmas tree. In my great excitement over the lighted tree, I begged Mrs. Dutton to let Darlene spend the night, and we were ecstatic when she gave her permission. We raced to my house and gave the good news to Mother. She hugged us, and I saw a tear slide down her cheek as Darlene and I ran to marvel at the only lighted tree in our neighborhood. We could hardly believe our eyes. The tree was so beautiful. We decided to sleep on a pallet in front of the tree, hoping we wouldn't interfere with Santa's delivery. We stayed awake for an eternity, it seemed, waiting to see if Mother and Mrs. Dutton were going to be Santas and deliver us presents. The older kids at school had told us that there really wasn't a Santa Claus. Sure enough, both our mothers tiptoed in with our presents just as we were drifting off to sleep. Darlene nudged me, and we both pretended to be asleep. Those little cheaters, they're only 5 years old. Hi, Muka and Julianne and Emma. I opened my eyes a tiny bit and saw Mother placing some books and a new pair of shoes under the tree. My heart pounded, but I kept quiet, as did Darlene, when her mother put a new dress and shoes under the tree for her. Our mothers couldn't afford wrapping paper, much less many gifts. After they slipped away, we took a quick peek at our presents. Then we drifted off to dreamland, secure in the knowledge that there really was a Santa Claus, our mothers. Oh, hi, snow remover. Hi, Mimi. Yeah, just take a nap listening. Memories of Christmas past. Yeah, I'm not going to read that one. Here's a little Christmas poem written by Letha Fuller. Do you ever long for a Christmas like folks had many years ago, when sounds of sleigh bells filled the air as cutters glided through the snow, when men and boys searched the woods for just the right Christmas tree, then brought it home by bobsled and set it up for all to see? Everyone helped make decorations, like snowflakes, dolls, and cars, cranberry and popcorn garlands, paper chains, and silver stars. The big farm kitchen was steaming with fresh goodies everywhere, pastries baked in the old wood range, cookies, fruitcakes, pies to spare. Folks met at the country church or school for a Christmas program at night. They applauded the songs and clever plays and poems the children would recite. Best of all was jolly old Santa Claus, who came rushing in with a ho, ho, ho. He gave gifts to every girl and boy, shouting Merry Christmas to all as he'd go. Christmas celebrations were simple, but 'twas the best time of the year, when neighbors wished a Merry Christmas to all neighbors far and near. It says, editor's note, Janice and I were sad to hear of Letha Fuller's death on June 23rd. She was nearly 97 years of age. We were in our second decade of working with Letha, and she always was a joy. Her only complaint about life was that her failing eyesight was making it more difficult to write. Letha was first a loyal reader of good old days and always loved the magazine and its stories. She will be missed. Let's see. I was trying to find some Thanksgiving stories. Hi, baby doe. I thought this one had some Thanksgiving stories in it. Here's one that mentions the word Thanksgiving Day. So it's called You're Not Alone by Robert Tauber, as told to Margaret L. Tauber. Oh my goodness. This is their house. Look at this with the snow. The year was 1939 and times were very hard. Even though I was only 7 years old, I knew we had it better than most because my pa had a job at the lumber mill. Even though he was gone for weeks at a time, Ma was always telling us how good we had it. All of us kids, 2 boys and a girl, worked from morn till dusk. We had a cow, a goat, chickens, 4 cats, and a wonderful old dog. We had a garden that grew as many weeds as vegetables. Ma canned everything that grew, even dandelions. She made wine from them, and she gave them to neighbors for Christmas. There was never a time that there wasn't some chore waiting to be done. We never did get caught up. But there was one day that Ma set aside for what she called being idle, and that was Thanksgiving. She said that on that day, we were saying thank you for everything and to everyone who made it possible. Pa always managed to be home for Thanksgiving Day, even if only for a few hours. He told us how lucky he was to have a job when there were men standing around every day just hoping some man would not turn up for work. When he came home, he was always worried that he might not get back to work on time. He drove a team of horses for the mill, and he took care of them like they were his own. I thought he was as proud of those horses as he was of us. Well, in 1939, like every other Thanksgiving, we bundled up and put the huge box filled with Ma's wonderful eats on the sled. Then we all trudged the 3 miles through the woods to Aunt Mary's, where we always spent Thanksgiving. Aunt Mary was not able to get around. It was a beautiful morning. The trees looked like they were hung with crystals. A light snow was falling, and the snow crunched and sparkled like it had been sprinkled with tiny diamonds. It was below zero, but the sun made it seem warmer. The woods were alive with rabbits, squirrels, and deer. The birds were going crazy, making such a racket, and the chickadees swooped down on us, just missing our heads. Ma said they were giving thanks for the sun being out, but Pa looked worried, saying it could be a sign of a storm. Another drink. We could smell the wonderful food long before we got to Aunt Mary's. What a feast we had that day. We just ate and ate. Pa was so stuffed that he didn't even go outside for a smoke. He just settled down in front of the old wood stove and fell asleep. We had never seen Pa sleep because he was always working. We stood there, peering into his mouth as it hung open, and counted his teeth, which he didn't have many of. We giggled at his loud snorting and snoring. When Ma caught us, she sent us all to play in the barn. It was about 3 p.m. when the barn door crashed open and the snow blew us off our feet. A blizzard had struck. The wind was howling. I was the first out of the barn. The sky was as dark as night, and the snow swirled around me so that I could hardly stand. Pa was outside too. His face was a gray color, and his eyes looked like they would pop out of his head. He was yelling to Ma, "Dress the boys, we have to get home. You and the little ones stay with Mary." In only minutes, it seemed, we were dressed and heading into the woods for home. Pa tied ropes around his waist and around us and through our belts. I couldn't understand what it was for, but looking at his face was enough to tell me not to ask. The wind was so strong it blew us backward. Everything was turning to ice, even my eyelashes. I tried to keep my eyes closed. Now I understood what the rope was for. It was to keep us together. Pa was moving so fast. His head was down, and he smashed through the brush like a mad animal. I was scared. 3 miles isn't far when you can see where you're going, but we were pushing our way through blinding snow and ice. The branches on the trees cracked and broke under the weight of the ice, and for every step we took, it felt like we were being blown in another direction. I know I was screaming, but the wind swallowed my screams. Pa was down on his hands and knees, crawling and dragging us behind him. I don't know how long we fought that fury of the storm, but Pa never stopped. It was well past 10 o'clock that night when he dragged us into our yard. As he stood there, he didn't look like our Pa. His face was covered with ice, and his whiskers stuck out like needles on a frozen porcupine. He knelt down and, grabbing my brother and me in his arms, cried out, "Help me, help me." I had been screaming and crying until Pa spoke those words. I stopped. My Pa was screaming for help. I forgot about being afraid and being wet and frozen. My brother and I started to clear a path to the house, and Pa staggered to the barn to take care of the animals. We got the wood stove going. Everything was frozen, including the water bucket, so we put it on the stove to melt. The blizzard had blown off the back door and part of the barn door. The chicken coop roof, all of a sudden I can't say that right, had all but collapsed. Snow and ice were everywhere. Our dog was about frozen, and his paws were stuck together. Pa managed to get the back door on, and we got the barn door back up. We melted enough snow to water the animals. Pa propped up the roof of the chicken coop. Fortunately, we hadn't lost the chickens. Then we took care of our own needs. Soon we were wrapped in Ma's homemade quilts while our clothes dried, hanging from the rafters and dripping into the pans we had put up. Nothing had ever smelled better to me than the smell of our clothes drying. Pa made us a hot tea and buttered bread. Even our dog got to share the butter bread. When Pa's clothes were dry, he got ready to leave for the mill so he wouldn't lose his job. But before he left, he stood by the door and in a gruff voice said, "Remember, no matter how things seem, you don't ever have to shoulder it alone. Just ask for help and do your best, and the Almighty will do the rest." Yes, we had a lot to be thankful for that Thanksgiving. I have never forgotten those wonderful meals we shared at Aunt Mary's. But throughout my 60 odd years, one thing has lived with me. It is my pa's words, "Help me." During my life, I have called out those words many times. Pa taught us so much that night. Sometimes I make a cup of tea and dip a piece of butter bread in it, and I remember the man who said very little but taught us so much, including pride, respect, and gratitude. He risked everything to save a few animals and his job, and all for his family. That night, he taught us that Thanksgiving is a time for giving thanks for everything and everyone. But even more, it's knowing that if you do your best, the Almighty will do the rest. You're not alone. That one was nice, right? Thank you, Tammy. You guys are sweet. Well, how long has it been? Almost an hour. I'll read for what, get to a total of 1 hour, and then we'll say goodbye. S. Sparks, yes. Jen Grill, just a couple more minutes, and then we're going to end. We're going to stop on the hour. Yeah, that'll be 1 hour. Perfect, right? Try to find another Thanksgiving one. So many of these I have are March and May. I don't know why. I have quite a few for Christmas, though. Christmas memories. I wanted to wait till Thanksgiving, though, for those, Got a good one, too, for... maybe... Yeah, maybe this one will have Thanksgiving, though. It says November and December. Made you sleepy? Did you listen? Is that a good thing, Kevin? Because I know you're always having a hard time sleeping. Hi, Emma B. I know, but I like to do the Thanksgiving. I love the Christmas ones, though, the best. Let's see if that one quick Thanksgiving one. This is that one where you find the candy stick, remember? There's a bunch more to read. To find, in all these magazines. Carolyn likes the Reminisce magazines better. I have quite a few of those now, too, since, I subbed to them. Let's see. It's High 61 that does the models, right, Carolyn? If High 61 ever comes in, I have one that'll be good for him. Plastic planes and cardboard cars. So that, I think I'll save that. Oh, Swiss Colony. Any of you guys? Hi, Lisa. High 61. Look, any of you guys ever order from here? My mom, when we did our big Christmas Eves over the years, this was always the treat. She would order these Swiss Colony. She'd order from there all these little cakes, and that's how I got started on these petty fours. And I'd be just so disappointed when years when she didn't have any of it. She'd be like, well, Debbie, I didn't get the magazine. It didn't come this time. Or Debbie, I ordered it. It was too late when I saw it. Or Debbie, I did. I got some. Don't worry. Swiss Colony. I should order some. So we're going to do Christmas Eve at my dad's this year. I wonder if it's too late to get it. You get a free 16 assorted chocolates in a crisp mouse tin, Carolyn. You know you like your tins, Carolyn. Look, what is so embarrassing? I always threw a tantrum. Carolyn, look. You love your tins. I won't dare ever send you a tin of chocolate, though. Ever. I'll just read this last one. It's called Fruitcake Weather. When the temperature dropped, the flurry began. And this is this little family here back in 1958. The holiday season is upon us. It's by Sarah Etkin Baker. And I delight in the memories of my childhood Yule tides. One such memory stands out quite clearly. Just before Thanksgiving, November's blustery winds arrived, weaving frost spider webs onto Mother's kitchen window. Oh my, she invariably said, staring at their intricate designs. It's fruitcake weather. We've much to do. Mother and I bundled up before clambering into our rickety old 1957 station wagon and then making our way to downtown Garland, Texas, along slippery, snow-covered streets. We parked in front of the grocery store and scurried toward the front door, the cold air nipping at our faces. I paused, letting the magic of the holiday season envelop me. Are you coming? Mother asked with urgency in her voice. Time's a-wastin'. I shook the sugary snow off my boots and followed Mother inside, where she purchased packages of my favorite things: red and green candied cherries, candied pineapple, dates, figs, walnuts, pecans, raisins, and candied citron. Back home in our tiny kitchen, we carefully chopped the candy fruits and the dates, figs, and nuts, blending them into the heavy batter and then dumping the glorious mixture into fluted cake and loaf pans. I perched on a kitchen stool and waited, the smell of nutmeg, cinnamon, and dark molasses wafting through the air. 3 hours later, the cakes had emerged from the oven, only to be doused with peach brandy wrapped in cheesecloth and then stored in every dark nook and cranny Mother could find. Every few minutes, it seemed, I pestered her. Are they done yet, Mother? Are they? No, not yet. Be patient. Homemade fruitcake needs to sit and ripen before it can be eaten. They get better with age, just like us. After what seemed like months, it was really only 3 or 4 weeks, she proclaimed, the fruitcake cakes are ready for wrapping. Out came the rolls of wax paper, aluminum foil, ribbon, and the ever so sturdy mailing cartons. Having bundled up our packages of cheer, we took them to the post office, entrusting the local mail carriers with their safe delivery. On the way home, we dropped off many versions of Mother's fruitcakes to neighbors, teachers, and friends, then tootled home, warmed with the knowledge we'd brighten the Christmas of friends and family. As my head sank into my pillow that night, it danced with visions of folks unwrapping our gifts, sniffing the cinnamon, cloves, and peach brandy, and then eating a slice of our dense, sweet fruitcake topped with a dollop of thick whipped cream. I'm heartened that Mother loved making those fruitcakes, and I'm touched with how thoughtfully she involved me in a decades old family holiday tradition, a tradition I revisit every year when it's fruitcake weather. Well, I guess it would be it. Okay, this still is going on till December 10th. I think I'm going to order it, take it down for Christmas. Yeah, a lot of people don't like it. A lot of jokes about fruitcake, huh? Gotten so many over the years from people. I always felt bad because, I don't know, but I eat a little. You had to, right? Okay, guys, thank you so much. Find a promo code for money off. There is one, I think, Kevin. It's swisscolony.com/promo1. Order now, this item, I think, and then you get to add a free item. In case anybody's interested, here's the promo code and the number and everything. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys came. Thank you so much. These are very little, but they're so good, guys. They're expensive, but they're just so tasty. They really are. They have so many things. Awesome little cakes and cookies and everything. All good, nurses. Thank you. Baby Doe, Tracy, California Thunder, Lori, Nicole, Tammy, S. Sparks, Kevin, Carolyn, Michael. Thank you, 10th Angel. Thank you. On my way to that casino now. Love you guys. Thanks. Bye, Emma. Thank you.